Okay, good
Can you
morning,
hear
Matteo.
me?
How are you? Thank you for doing this and welcome to our meat-based community here, I suppose. My understanding is you are interested and concerned with sleep. That's your sort of your wheelhouse. Is that correct to say?
Yeah, correct. But I'm a sleep nerd.
You're a sleep nerd. Where are you from? I'm for some reason I'm thinking Italy, but and maybe I'm going on a limb there.
Yeah, no, I'm Italian,
Yeah.
so born and raised there, and I moved here 12 years ago.
Where is here? Are you in the U.S. now?
Now it's Miami, but I was in New York until last April.
Okay. And Miami, are you liking Miami?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
but
vis- I
I really
visited it
like it.
last year. It's a nice place. It's a definitely nice to be out in the nice weather and get outside. Well, I'll tell you what, if you don't mind, can you just kind of give us a little brief sort of background on you and tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the co-founder and CEO of 8 Sleep. We develop a technology that can enhance your sleep and tracks all your biometrics while you are sleeping. This is my third company. I sold 2 companies before. We are backed by some of the best venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, so Founders Fund, Cosmo Ventures, Y Combinator. We have raised over $80 million to date. Our vision is to do 2 things: potentially compress sleep. So what if you could sleep only 6 hours and get more rest than when you were sleeping 8 hours? And second is saving your life. So what if we can really scan your body while you're asleep? And so going to bed, it becomes more valuable than going to the doctor.
That's an interesting take, and I wonder. Let me just ask you this: why do we sleep? What are we doing? What's going on when we're sleeping? Just to put it in more perspective.
Yeah, I mean, sleep is the time for your body to really recover, right? So there are really 2 dimensions. One is for your physical body, so the physical recovery, which is mainly enhanced and driven by deep sleep. And then there is the part of REM, which is instead is more for your brain. So when you really reclassify the information from the day.
So, this part about recovery, restoration, rejuvenation, um, I think is interesting. And I know I've looked into sleep physiology a fair bit, and one of the things that I find fascinating, depending upon how much damage you accumulate throughout the wake cycle, may dictate how much sleep is required to undo that damage. Is there some validity to that statement?
Yeah, absolutely. And based on that is how your body also manages differently the different sleep stages. So let's say you're really sleep deprived. Usually in a normal night, the in the first part of the night, you will tend to get more deep sleep than REM, and in the second part of the night, it's going to be the opposite. But for example, if you have been sleep deprived for a couple of days, your body will give priority to deep sleep to recover physically and catch up there. And only in the following night, you will start getting a decent amount of REM.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm sure everybody's experiences, you sometimes you have days that are just exhausting. You work really hard and you just collapse and you sleep for a long time to make up for that. One of the things that I think is very interesting, and many people in this community, now remember, we're a community of people that prioritizes eating meat. We don't eat a lot of carbohydrates. Many of us, myself included, notice that we sleep less than we used to, maybe 6 hours instead of 8, 6.5 hours, but we feel rested. I wake up every day around 5 a.m., but without an alarm clock, I feel rested, and I carry out my day, and I go to bed, sometimes around 10, 10:30 ish. So I'm getting 6.5, maybe 7 hours. And I feel great. I mean, I train hard every day. I exercise as an athlete. There's some evidence that perhaps carbohydrates may increase oxidative load or oxidative stress, and some of the things we do at sleep are to kind of reverse some of that stuff. So any thoughts on, well, let me hear your thoughts. You mentioned compressing sleep. What's the theory behind compressing sleep, and why are we doing that? How do you accomplish that?
Yeah, so let's say you sleep 8 hours, right? Which is the most known number. Usually you get somewhere between 15 and 25% deep and 15 and 25% REM, right, in a night. So let's call it 25 and 25 for simplicity. You're still spending 50% of the time, which is 4 hours, in light sleep. And if you look at all the medical and clinical evidence, you will see that what really matters or matters the most is deep and REM. And so our hypothesis is that all that amount of light sleep is just your body being inefficient in transitioning across all the different stages. And so what if you could spend only 2 hours in light sleep instead of 4? That is how we would save time. And so we are leveraging technology to get you faster into deep sleep and REM without touching them. So the amount of deep and REM will stay exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, the REM or the rapid eye movement sleep, and then there's these sort of, I guess, N4. I mean, there's different stages of sleep that are described now, and I've seen how diet affects that. But there's a lot of, so you're using technology, there's a lot of medications that people talk about. Some people talk about melatonin was a big one for years, and I think there's been a lot of sort of feedback that that's maybe not the best answer. There's magnesium, which some people utilize. What are your thoughts on the various sleep aids? And then I'd like to hear about your technology, how that affects it.
Yeah, so what we are using right now is temperature control. So we have dynamic thermoregulation. We can change the temperature of your body based on biometrics, sleep stages, and preferences. And so there is medical evidence that through thermoregulation, you can fall asleep faster. We see it in our users. They fall asleep up to 15 minutes faster. You can get more deep sleep. Plenty of customers are reporting between 20 and 40% more deep sleep. We reduce toss and turns, and we reduce wake ups, 30% less wake ups and 40% less toss and turns. This was the current technology, just temperature regulation. Then other factors that impact your sleep quality is light and noise, and potentially even oxygen in terms of recovery. You have heard of athletes sleeping in altitude 10, hyperbaric chamber, all that. So we want to tackle all these factors over time to really maximize the time you spend asleep.
Yeah, when you talk about temperature regulation, I guess it's less so now perhaps, but my better half, my partner, my girlfriend would like it warmer than I would. I would like it colder and she'd like it warmer, and you'd fight over the blankets. And I'm like, look, I can only take off so many clothes. You can always throw on an extra pair of pajamas. And so what is optimal? Do we have an optimal sleeping temperature? Is it individually dependent? Is it species dependent? Is it different for men and women? How do we know what temperature works, and how do you regulate? I mean, I know there's this cold pads that some people like to sleep on, but how do we get our, what's the best way to regulate our temperature at night?
Yeah, it's a great question. And let's start from the fact that when you hear people saying, oh, you should sleep at 68 degrees all night, that's wrong. And now I tell you why. So temperature is very personal. It's based on your metabolism, and is based on your age and your gender. Can you still hear me? Okay, you guys can hear me. So temperature is extremely personal. So it can change from person to person. It's based on gender, age, metabolism, and many other factors. And the other key thing is your temperature needs change during the night. So a temperature that is right when you get in bed is different from what you need in the first part of the night and in the second part of the night. And then obviously there are also specific cases like women with hot flashes or athletes or different cases. But the bottom line is temperature needs to be adjusted during the whole night and change continuously, which is what we deliver with our technology. And you could do it manually. So you could set your own temperature settings for different phases across the night, or you could just let us handle it for you, and based on your biometric, we will change temperature in real time. If you want to write me any question in the meanwhile, while we wait for him to be back, I can answer.
Yeah, no, I think I'm back. Do you guys hear me again? Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened. I think I'm unfortunately our house is under a mess right now. We're moving stuff, and we got a bunch of contractors in there. But I was going to say that, and you mentioned the temperature adjusting tonight. I know I've often wanted it cold when I fall asleep, but then 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you wake up and you're quite cold, and then you're like, give me the blanket. So it's interesting that you have this variable sleep temperature requirements. I'm just thinking, if we look at it from an evolutionary ancestral standpoint, I'm just thinking, we're sleeping in caves, we're sleeping, in structures that aren't well temperature controlled. How does that impact? What is the purpose of shortening in compressing the sleep window? Why? What is the advantage? Does it give us more time to experience daytime or working hours, or what is it? What is the benefit?
Yeah, so I mean, if we can compress the sleep in a healthy way, right, without impacting our health, longevity, and you could just gain 2 hours per day that you can spend with your loved ones or doing, whatever you like, professionally and personally. I think that 2 hours is going to compound in your life, and you're going to gain years of life. Again, the problem right now with sleep is there are people trying to sleep less, but most of the times there is a risk associated with that can have an impact from your blood pressure to insulin resistance and many other factors. So we need to make sure that we do it in a way that is completely healthy.
And I'm just curious about, when you say it's completely healthy, and we have seen the stats on, a poor night of sleep leads to decreased insulin sensitivity. A chronic poor nights of sleep leads to obesity. There's studies that associate certain amounts of sleep with shorter or longer longevity. So how are you judging it's healthier the way you're compressing sleep relative to what we've seen before?
Yeah, I mean, you go back to the first principles, right? And so you try to understand out of the 8 hours what is really valuable for your body. And what you will see if you read all the medical evidence is that what really matters is your deep sleep and is your REM. And so those cannot be compressed. And I can also tell you, for example, specifically for me, anything below 18% of deep sleep, I'm in trouble that day. Everything above 20%, I'm a superhero. And so obviously that is a percentage out of the 8 hours that I'm sleeping today. But at the end of the day, you're talking about 2 hours, right? Or an hour and a half. So that is the key of sleep. And I think the problem that we had for thousands of years is that we just lie over a piece of dumb foam and we just pretend to wake up 8 hours later, fully refreshed and ready to go for an intense life. In the meanwhile, Elon Musk is taking us to Mars and we still spend a third of our life on a piece of dumb foam. Technology can help us, can help our bodies to recover faster.
Just trying to flesh out the rest of the stuff, because you mentioned things that, what does the technology look like for temperature control to help you fall asleep faster, to help you to not toss and turn, not to wake up? What kind of things can you manipulate?
Yeah, so the form factor of our product, we have two form factors. One is just a cover that you can install onto any bed, and you will start having both sleep and health tracking and thermoregulation. The other is the whole mattress. So it depends. If you like your mattress, you can buy the cover. If you're already thinking of changing your bed, just buy the whole bed. Technology is the same, just different form factor. And you don't have to wear anything. You don't have to charge anything. You just can keep your habits as usual. You just go to bed. But this time the bed will be warm or cold based on your preferences and your needs. And when you wake up in the morning, you have an app where you can see all your sleep stats. Personally, I'm really obsessed with the HRV and HR stats because they're really indicative of how much I recover during the night. And those are the two metrics I look at the most. And through temperature, what we see is we solve problems for people like you, right? So the majority of the couples, they have different temperature preferences. Usually there is a person who wants it cold and one who wants it warm. There are women with hot flashes, and so we help them a lot with our product. There are athletes, they have a different metabolism, and usually they look for a colder environment also to recover faster, and we help them as well.
You said that at the beginning, you said with regard to the temperature, you could set it manually. And my assumption is you can, at 3 a.m. it's going to warm up a little bit or whatever. Is there another way to do it? Do you have like an automatic feedback system that can sense if you need it colder or hotter? And how does that work if so?
Yeah, so we use, there are two ways, right? So one is more manual. You can set it, there are different phases in the night. But the other one that is the key differentiation for us is what we call temperature autopilot. And so our software controls the temperature for you, and it can adjust it based on your heart rate, based on your sleep stages, based on toss and turns, and many more factors. So the idea is the device is learning from you, and we keep optimizing temperature to really maximize sleep to the last mile.
I was looking at a question from one of our guests, and they're asking about the communication between the app and the actual device itself? Is it radio frequency, or how does it do? And is it something that downloads at the end of the night, or can you turn it off and still get the data, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it just connects to your Wi-Fi. So it's not that we create any new anything new. And so your app is just connected to, you could use and control your bed from anywhere in the world. So again, you're just really connected to the phone line, and the device is connected to your Wi-Fi. And you can disconnect it from the Wi-Fi during the night. It still collect the data, but you wouldn't be able to change the temperature.
Okay, yeah, somebody's asking about turning off the Wi-Fi at night. So, what's as far as what have you seen? I mean, how long has your product been out? Has your product been on the market yet for a while? Is that something that's out? I know it's 8sleep, 8sleep.com. Why the number 8sleep? What does 8 have to do with it? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, it's because we want to disrupt the concept of the 8 hours of sleep, right? We sleep 8 hours because our bodies are inefficient. And so we want to break that number.
Can you assess, because normally, I mean, when you assess, REM sleep versus deep sleep, there's a number of monitors that have to be placed. Is your device able to sense when you're in these different stages, or how does it do without having to wear a cranial sensory device?
Yeah, so we use 3 factors. One is your heart rate, one is your respiration, and one is your movement. These 3 factors change based on each of the different sleep stages. And so by looking at the combination of the 3, we can infer what sleep stage you are. So just to give an example, in a REM phase, you don't move at all because your brain deactivates the body control because you are dreaming and you don't want to move. And so there is no movement, but there is still an accelerated heart rate that is 100% a REM phase. Right. So by leveraging these 3 factors, we can understand where are you in your sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you have sensors in the mattress to tell if you're moving or not, or if you're, but is heart rate monitored through the bed, or is that a little brace that you wear, or how does that work?
No, substantially there are sensors embedded in the bed that you don't see and you don't feel. Imagine that they are really working like a stethoscope. So you're sleeping on the stethoscope of your doctor, and in the same way that the doctor could hear your heart rate and your respiration, we do the same. We are extremely accurate. We are within 1 heartbeat compared to a medical grade EKG, which is the heart rate device, and the same for respiration.
And so, you had mentioned, if you get below 18% of deep sleep, or 14% or something like that, it's not very efficient. But when you get 20% or more, you feel more rested, and it may show up in things like HRV and so on and so forth. How can you control that, or how does your device sort of help ensure people get more deep sleep?
Yeah, so there is already medical evidence that proves that certain type of temperatures help you get into deep sleep faster, or they can extend your deep sleep. So usually in deep sleep, you want a colder environment compared to what a traditional dumb bed could provide. While instead in REM is completely different. In REM, you want what is called thermal neutrality. So your brain needs to feel comfortable to let you fall into REM, because otherwise it would just fear that you could die if it's too hot or too cold. And so just by playing with temperature during those phases, your brain will automatically optimize the sleep stages for you.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. So there's a thermal sensor that tells how hot your body is, and then it changes the temperature of the mattress or the blanket, I think. Is that what I'm
the mattress? So it's the top layer of the mattress, and each side of the bed can have a different temperature, anywhere between 55 and 110 degrees.
Okay. And then just to ask more about the product, different sizes, different beds, king size, queen size. Do you guys have whatever
we
size?
have full, queen, king, Kali king. I saw a question about the how loud it is. It's not loud. Is less than a humidifier if you want a proxy, but almost no one complains. Customers complains about noise.
Yeah, and the cooling is done through, Phil's talking about circulating water. Is that typical? That we've seen?
Yeah,
those
there is a
devices work.
thermal engine. We circulate a liquid. And again, each side of the bed can be anywhere between 55 and 110 degrees.
How many, so what kind of things have you seen with people that have been using it as far as outcomes? You know, have you gotten any feedback on different sort of metrics?
Yeah. So first, we are saving a lot of marriages because couples, they fight around temperature. But that's, outside that, people are falling asleep close to 15 minutes faster. We are seeing a 30% drop in toss and turns and 40% in wake ups. People keep reporting on social networks somewhere between 20 and 40% more deep sleep. And that is something they are measuring with Aura or Whoop or other devices, so not even our devices. There is also medical evidence that proves that you can increase your deep sleep up to 20% with thermoregulation. That was an independent study run by a hospital or university. So across the board, you will just get more restful sleep with that.
Yeah, and I just want to, what is the downside? Because you mentioned, sleep, deep sleep tends to be more pronounced or prolonged with colder temperature, but then there's a downside. So what's the downside for keeping it cold all through the night? Where does that come in as a problem?
I mean, your brain will adjust on its own, right? So the key thing here is, yeah, if you were sleeping in an environment that is too cold, obviously your bed, I mean, your sleep would be bad because it's like when it's too hot, right? What we already experience or we have experienced in our lives. So the key thing is to have, this temperature adjustment to be fine-tuned for your specific needs. You need a colder environment for deep sleep. You need a slightly warmer environment while you're in REM. So there is no real downside unless these temperatures are completely off, but you would recognize it immediately during your first night.
Now, I guess when you have it on autopilot, it kind of adjusts, but I'm just wondering, maybe in your background research, if you guys looked at things like seasonality. Obviously, the light and day cycle changes throughout the year, and therefore the temperature cycle is going to change.
Yeah.
Age, as people age, they tend to, the typical thing is we see the older people to sleep less. They don't get as much sleep, and maybe that's part of the negative consequence of aging. But is there anything that's going on between, summertime, wintertime, people of different ages?
Absolutely. Yeah, so our software takes that into consideration. And so actually we do on a daily basis. You can input your zip code when you sign up in the app. And then based on your zip code, we will adjust automatically because we know that maybe there is a storm wherever you live or there is a heat wave. And so regulation changes on a daily basis.
What, how long have you guys had this product out now?
So the one with thermoregulation is 2 years now. And then we had another product before for another 2 years.
And what kind of information does that app provide for somebody who's looking? A lot of people like to just they love the data and they like to look at all the different things. And what kind of metrics are you guys tracking with that app?
So you see, obviously, what time you got in bed, what time you fell asleep, how many times now you got out of bed, what time you woke up. You see sleep stages, right? Each of them. You see toss and turns. Then you monitor your heart rate, so you can see what was your heart rate during the night, and HRV, heart rate variability, which is a great metric to show how recovered you are. And then you can also monitor your respiration and also temperature.
Somebody's asking about either compatibility or comparability with some of these other, apps and feedback devices. When somebody's mentioned things like an Aura ring, which some people like to use to judge different metrics. Is there any crosstalk between the devices or comparability between the two?
Yeah, so we push our data on Apple Health. And so on Apple Health, you could have both Aura and our data. And then, that is how it works right now. Then in the future, maybe we might be chatting with them if they're open and explore a partnership.
Um, as far as sleep in general, because I know you're talking from the tech side, do you have any other sort of things that seem to help or not help? I mean, obviously you want to optimize in other ways as well. I mean, bedtime, going to bed at a certain time consistently, lighting. What about lighting? Is that an issue? What are the other things that seem to affect sleep hygiene that you guys are picking up with your device and in the outcomes?
Yeah, there are a couple of different hacks that I use, and they have a big impact in my case. Obviously, the consistency is what you were saying is really important, right? Going to bed at the same times, more than anything, waking up at the same times, super important. You're training your biological clock to wake up at the same time. Lights is another big thing. All my lights at home, they switch to orange around 7:30, and then they keep dimming down. And by 9:30, all the lights are off. Another thing I do is I call it thermal shock. So I try to take a shower before dinner where I switch between hot and cold 10 times, 30 seconds each. And that shocks my body and helps me to relax. Usually once a week, I try some supplements, like it could be melatonin, it could be CBD, some of these products that help me to fall asleep faster. I don't have hard data yet, so I cannot say if they work. Cold environment, meaning the temperature of the bedroom still helps, even if you have our technology. So with our technology, you can set it less cold, which will also help you to save money on your AC. So I sleep at 72 degrees in terms of air temperature. And then blackout curtains. So the whole room is completely black. Sometimes we don't realize, but light has an impact on our brain and how deep we sleep.
Yeah, many people have kind of looked into that. Somebody's asking about the possibility for rupture or tubes leaking or water leaking. Is that a significant risk for the product, or is it pretty well protected?
No, it's pretty well protected. I mean, like a car, right? You cannot be always 100% perfect, but I would say replacement rate is really low for us, and satisfaction rate is really high. So
yeah, we've got people that are going to be listening to this from around the world. Where is this product available at? Is it US based only, or is it shipped internationally, or what's the story on that?
yeah, right now it's US only. You can buy from Canada, and we are opening there, and then by Q4 we expect to be in Europe.
Does I guess the other thing that I would be interested in is the tossing and turning. I mean, some of that is that always a negative thing for us for sleeping, or what's the again, is that dependent upon temperature once again, or is that how does temperature prevent you from tossing and turning, I suppose?
Yeah, there is a strong correlation between tossing and turning and temperature. So in particular, if it's too hot, but sometimes even too cold, you tend to toss and turn a lot. That's why we are so impactful on toss and turns. In general, I mean, first you have your own baseline, right? So I toss and turn a lot, like 40 times a night. My co-founder, he tosses and turns like 3 times a night, right? And you can bring me from 40 to 30, but not from 30 to 2. So that is step number one. And usually it's probably connected, to the overall quality of sleep and sometimes stress. Another thing you will see is that number of toss and turns will change in different periods.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, and I kind of alluded to this before with diet, but other things. Do you find that certain activities during the day or certain situations during the waking hour impact not only the sleep and the quality of the sleep and the duration, but how you have to deal with it? Does the app? I mean, do you see like if I had a very long day, hard day, stressful day, I competed as an athlete, something, do we see a difference in the way the sleep is produced and how your product interacts with that?
Yeah, so yes, let's break it down in two buckets. One is activity and one is nutrition, right? Let's start from nutrition because it is the one where we have more data. So alcohol has a major impact on your sleep. Sometimes you drink alcohol, you think, oh, no, I feel fuzzy, my mind is not racing, I will sleep better. reality is this will have an impact on your heart rate and your HRV. And so maybe, yeah, you can fall asleep, but the quality of your sleep will be way lower. So you should stop drinking at least a couple of hours before going to bed. You should stop eating at least a couple of hours before going to bed. Food has an impact, carbs has an impact. Usually carbs might help you fall asleep faster, but the overall quality of your sleep will be lower. So that is one. And the other one is caffeine. Usually it is recommended to stop drinking coffee at least 8 hours before going to bed. So what you eat, alcohol and caffeine, major impact. And there is plenty of medical evidence. In terms of fitness, so we are running a lot of studies there, from the yoga to high intensity interval training to marathon running and everything else. What we have seen is there is definitely an impact based on the time of the day when you train. So you shouldn't train in the 3 hours before going to bed. And the reasons are a couple. First, you're going to change your body temperature. Second, you're going to accelerate your heart rate. And third, you may also generate adrenaline, that kind of stuff. And so that will not help you to fall asleep. We have seen some positive results from yoga. We're analyzing meditation. And in general, I think the more, if you have a healthy day where you train, you give it all, and you really took out stress from your body because of physical activity, that overall should have a positive impact.
I guess we'd be kind of remiss not to discuss the fact that outside of sleeping in bed, many people have sex in a bed, and that's kind of, some people would conflate that with exercise. And so is there any data evidence showing that sex impacts quality of sleep and the timing of that?
We didn't run that study yet, but that would be very interesting. I guess there is a correlation, because even just mentally, the mental stress that you can overcome, but we don't have the data yet.
Yeah, I think I've seen there are some studies out there that have kind of touched on that, and I think the conclusions were kind of mixed on that, but it's interesting. What other stuff is important for us to know regarding your product or sleep that you'd want to discuss with us?
I mean, the way we call it for us, we call it sleep fitness, right? And so sometimes in the 90s, there was this concept from entrepreneurs saying, oh, I sleep only 4 hours because I'm the tough guy and I don't need to sleep more. There is plenty of medical evidence that only 1 over 4 million people can sleep 4 hours without having major negative impacts on their health. And so we call it sleep fitness because the same way you put the effort and you're intentional about going to the gym and training every day, you should have the same approach with your sleep. Then you might sleep 6 hours, you might sleep 8 or 9, that doesn't matter. But if you want to take care of yourself, your body, and your longevity, you need to be intentional of sleep and thinking of sleep like going to the gym to train.
Yeah, just speaking of athletes, I would assume you probably have some athletes or people that are engaged in sports that utilize the product. What has been can you give us some sort of feedback on athletic performance with regard to your product?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think 17 athletes, when there was the NBA bubble, they were using our product. Danny Green from the Lakers. The Lakers now won the title. He was using our product. I think right now we have over 70 athletes in NFL and NBA sleeping on our technology, and more teams are just buying it for the whole team. And the reason is, outside the sleep quality, temperature has an impact on your overall recovery, which obviously for athletes is key. And so we are actually studying how temperature is impacting HRV recovery during the night. HRV is the key metric for athletes. And so that is how all these teams are becoming super interested in what we do.
When we obviously there's circadian patterns throughout the day and different hormonal happens, and we see in the morning testosterone rises, cortisol rises, glucose often rises in response to that. A lot of people with diabetes have problems with something called a dawn effect, where they have this sort of overpronounced, I guess perhaps cortisol or counter-regulatory effect in the morning. Have you seen any data on diabetes and sleep or even in your product?
Yeah, so I'm actually super curious about that, and it is a test that we want to run. So the answer is no for now, but we want to do it. The only thing I have done, I completely different. I'm not diabetic, but I monitor my glucose levels. And in particular, I have seen how the sleep quality is impacted when I have carbs at night for dinner. I'm usually on a keto diet, but I cheat usually once a week. And so I started monitoring my sleep that night. And what I keep seeing are spikes, glucose spikes in the middle of the night, even if I'm not eating anymore. And that usually is correlated with impact on my sleep metrics.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned, because we often hear that a lot of people say you need carbohydrates to help you fall asleep, but then you said that the sleep quality is actually compromised with that approach. Like I said, I know I've seen data on low carbohydrate diets increasing specifically the deep sleep, and I think they call it N4. Is that something you've seen in the research, or have you seen with your product?
So we're looking into that. What we have seen is, in general, with carbs, you have an impact in general, a negative impact on the overall quality of the sleep, even if you can fall asleep faster, but the overall quality and restfulness of your sleep is lower.
What's been the impact on heart rate variability and heart rate so far?
Yeah, so that is what we are studying. We have an hypothesis where through temperature we can maybe help you recover faster, and so lower the heart rate and increase the HRV. It's not proven yet, so we're working on that. But I mean, if you reverse engineer that and you start thinking about, okay, more restful sleep and deeper sleep and more REM, then at that point, the logical output should be that HR and HRV are positively impacted.
Is this product, well, I can't imagine it's not, but just for the sake of completeness, children, any ages, is there any problems with putting it in when you're a 6-year-old, or any of you got any feedback on kids sleeping? They usually sleep pretty good regardless, but.
Yeah. No, we have seen actually some help with some kids that have some sort of problems or diseases, and so some of their parents reach out thanking us for that. There is no problem for them. Again, it looks exactly like any other bed. It doesn't matter if you bought the whole bed from 8 Sleep or you just bought the cover. And yeah, they work for anyone in the family.
When I guess when we get older, we often see a decrease in the length and quality of sleep. Is there something that is causing that, or does your product seem to help improve the sleep in folks that are suffering from age-related, I guess, lack of sleep fitness?
Yeah, so it's something. Right now our audience is still 25 to 45. Obviously, I mean, everyone buys our product, but the core, the 80%, I would say, of our audience is in that range. I think over time we want to expand and start helping people even as they get older. Temperature will have an impact because it's also connected to their blood circulation, and as you were saying, to the fact that they sleep less time. So there is definitely a way to help them. And I think their temperature settings will change over time, 100%. And so we can help and optimize for that.
Yeah, I see somebody's asking about if they wanted to try the product. Is there a warranty? How do you guys handle the product if somebody tries it and doesn't like it or something like that?
So so there is a return policy where if you buy the bed, you have 100 nights. If you buy the cover, you have 30 nights. You can return it for free. So you install it, you test it for a couple of weeks. If you don't like it, you can send it back. And then there is also warranty. There is a warranty on the foam part, and there is a warranty on the technology. Everything is there on the website. But yeah, we are just match any other device that you would buy on the market, plus this free return policy for 30 or 100 nights.
Yeah, and somebody's asking about, is there a financing option? Is it something you can?
Yeah, you can finance. The majority of our customers, they finance it. We offer a pretty good deal, and so you really end up paying it depends what you buy, but a reasonable amount per month, and you can finance it over 2 years.
Okay, I'm just getting more questions about the product, and they're asking about what kind of maintenance you have to do to prevent problems with like mold in the circulating water and stuff like that. Or is there a chemical you have to add, or what's the story on that?
You just need to refill the water once every 3 months. So it's very minimal, the maintenance. There is almost nothing to do, just put the water. You will receive a notification in your app, so we just tell you, and it's once per quarter, every 3 months.
Interesting. What, as far as, what if you have a bed that is like one of those hospital beds that goes up and down? Will that product work with that, with the cover? Is that a problem or no?
So if it's a split bed, we don't support that yet. But if you move both sides, that is fine.
Okay. And if, can you outfit your whole house with these or something? I mean, I guess you can. I mean, there's no reason you couldn't do that. I'm just thinking I've got several people at home that would potentially benefit from that. So,
yeah, we keep seeing as we grow as a company, we have a lot of customers. They buy more. No, they buy one, they start knowing about us, they try the product, they love it, and then they want to buy maybe for their kids. We have a lot of people buying for their parents. Or for the second room or a second house.
Okay, and somebody's asking if we can get a discount code for our members here at MeetRx.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We'll follow up. We'll give a discount to all your people.
Awesome. Thank you very much. What else do we need to know about sleep? I mean, because you mentioned melatonin and you mentioned, and like I said, magnesium. There's a lot of sleep aid supplements on the market. Are any of them worth a darn, or what's the research say outside of what you guys are doing? I mean, and what is it? So I guess this is the thing that always, when I look at supplements, I ask people, what kind of effect did you get? And most time it's kind of, you have to think, and you can't remember if it actually helped or not. It's really hard to discern placebo from hype. And I mean, can you objectively say that people are getting significant benefit, that it's not just a placebo effect with a product versus, say, taking a dose of magnesium perhaps?
I cannot, at least yet, right? So it's not that I'm negative. I just cannot, and that's why I'm trying it on myself, and I'm trying to look at the data and see if I can learn something. A couple of things we know. So definitely, if you are jet lagged and you take melatonin, that will help, because it will help you to regulate your circadian cycle. So if you are flying back from another place, that was in a different time zone, melatonin can help you. You should try in general melatonin or some CBD gummies products to see how they impact your sleep. That is what I'm trying myself. Magnesium is another good thing that will help you relax your muscles. That is proven. It's not going to change your sleep quality, but in general, it will help your muscles. But I would say if you really want to be strict about, okay, where there is real evidence, I would just say is when you're jet lagged, to leverage melatonin to readjust your sleep cycle.
Yeah, the one comment you made about not eating within a couple hours worth before bedtime, I found that personally to be very advantageous for me. I rarely eat a late dinner anymore, and when I do, it usually impacts the quality of sleep and usually results in me getting up in the middle of the night for whatever reason. Why is it? Do we know why that's happening? Do we have any idea why eating late is problematic for many people?
It's really connected to where you are in terms of digestive process, right? Digestion is a very energy consuming exercise for your body. It's a pretty heavy activity. And so you want to give some time to your body to have already started the process of digestion before falling asleep.
Yeah, and you look at like typical gastric emptying times tend to be about 4 hours. That's kind of how long food sits in your stomach for most people, and it kind of depends a little bit on what the food is specifically, but maybe there's some relationship between once it clears the stomach and because, and a lot of people suffer with esophageal reflux disease, obviously that's a problem. Yeah. And when you lay flat and you've got a full stomach, you're constantly fighting burning in your chest and that type of stuff. So that may also help to get that out of your stomach before you lay flat, perhaps. Do you have any other thoughts on sleep or tips or things that you'd like to share about sleeping?
No, I think we cover everything. I think the big elephants in the room are temperature, one of the biggest. I would say alcohol, the second biggest, and your sleep routine as a third. If you nail these three, you should see a major impact.
Yeah, this has been very interesting. And actually, I hadn't heard of the product, but it sounds pretty interesting, particularly the dynamic temperature adjusting component of that. Because like I said, I like it cold when I fall asleep, but routinely, if it's too cold, I wake up at 3 or 4 shivering, and I'm like, got to change that. So that's a nice little change on the thing. Do you see as you guys go forward? Do you see any further refinements to the product? Is there going to be version 2.0, 3.0, and if so, what are you looking at potentially as sort of further enhancements, perhaps?
Yeah, so the core features of the current product are there. When we release if we release a new one, everyone can upgrade at a fraction of the price. So customers shouldn't be concerned. So at the minimum cost, they will be able to upgrade over time. We might release more sensors. We can improve some things, but most of the improvements will really be through software. So you can think of it like a Tesla. That by the time you go back to bed tonight, you have features you didn't have last night. So we overbuilt the hardware. So through software, we can just release new features. To give you an example, right now we don't track sleep apnea, or at least we don't show the sleep apnea to customers. In the future, there will be a software update that everyone will get for free. So your bed will get better over time and no cost.
Yeah, so instead of having your girlfriend whack you on the shoulder for snoring, your bed will be able to do it. Hey, let me ask you, because is there a heating element to this too, that it warms it as well as cool it?
Yeah, it could be any temperature between 55 and 110 degrees. So it could be really cold, it could be really warm. Obviously, very few people sleep at the extremities. Most of the people are in the middle.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody wanting to sleep in a 110-degree mattress. I mean, that would just, maybe as a sauna, if you wanted to sweat. That's interesting. Well, I'll tell you what, Matteo, this has been fascinating. I'm really intrigued by the product. I want to thank you for sharing sharing this. Where do people go to find out more about this? And do you have a social media where people might want to go to learn stuff as well?
Yeah, so first start from our website, 8sleep.com, 8 like the number, just in letters, so EIGHT sleep.com. There on the homepage, you will also see a reference to my Twitter profile. I'm really active on Twitter. I share my tips and all that we are doing there. So feel free to Twitter me and ask anything, and I'll be happy to answer. Or our customer support, if you go on our website, there is a chat, and you can chat in real time with our team.
Well, awesome. I know people are excited about looking for a discount code. You may have some sales coming from our MeetRx folks. So thank you for doing this. And I'm sleeping on a hotel bed right now as they demolish my house, and so I'm thinking about getting better sleep as well. So anyway, I appreciate it. For the rest of the folks, thank you guys very much. We'll be back tomorrow. You guys have a great day. Matteo, I'm jealous of you in Miami. I hope you continue to enjoy yourself there. And the only thing is the humidity is somewhat can be a little tough in the summertime. But
yeah, I'm Italian. I can handle it.
There you go.
I'm good.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd rather be hot than cold typically. That's true. Yeah. All right. Everybody, take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Matteo. Bye bye.